And spawning in the bottom left in the blue, he's Mana. I almost got it, even with the first one. I tried. Such a shame.
In the top right, it's going to be a red Protoss from Alpha X. His name is Astrea.
Every day we stray further from the light.
True.
At least you do
correct.
with your purple-hued webcam.
I don't know. I think I'm too much in the light right now, if you ask me. There's too much light going on. I can't handle it. Yeah, I mean, Jagged Alpha, in PvP especially, this is a map where I really do feel like, going just into a standard macro game is definitely possible. I feel like it's relatively easy to hold your natural if you go with the 2-gate opening, and then off of that you can take the third, go into Charge the Immortal Archon, or if you're going Blink Stalkers and Disruptors, that's also very viable. So we'll have to see. I don't think we're going to see any early shenanigans from either of these players. They are just going for the exact same build as we see the double gateways going down, and with the 2-gas and eventually the Cyber Core as the first one finishes up.
Yeah, we don't see any patented Astrea builds. Of course, Astrea builds are like the greediest possible builds coming on in here, but this is a rather sneaky probe here on the left-hand side. Now, this may just be... actually, yeah, this is just going to be Schrodinger's Pylon. Never mind. Of course, the idea that you just drop a pylon on the map and your opponent has no idea whether you're proxying or not. And you know what? Honestly, FireBird, I'm sure there's a reason behind it. Maybe, you do that enough and Protoss players kind of learn to just find your pylon. But I don't know. I don't see a really good reason why you don't just kind of drop that pylon on the map every game. Just make it difficult for players to figure out. Because even if you do have a tendency of not doing anything with it, and it's just that pylon on the map, you're not proxying anything, then that can lull players that do the proper preparation into this false sense of security where they're like, yeah, he's just going for the sneaky pylon but not doing anything with it. And then the one time you actually do something with it, it's even more effective.
Yeah, I think it's just a stylistic thing. I think a lot of players, they want to have that second pylon in their base so they don't have to build the third one for their additional tech. But, at the same time, you're probably going to be getting up that third pylon by the time you put up whatever tech you're getting. So, yeah, I think... I feel like for a lot of players, especially if they know it's going to be a matchup where they're very even in skill level to their opponent, I don't see why it isn't mixed in more. Because then, like later on, you can just use it for a proxy. But Mana is going to be able to scout out the pylon, is going to see it, so eventually he'll probably clean that up with a small force of stalkers later on. But for now, he just says, okay, you just put this pylon out there to try and trick me, try and bamboozle me. Good job, you got me scouting around the map. But other than that, it doesn't get too much done.
Yeah, it's about, 30 minerals or something that keeps the probe from mining it, which is it's something. It's snowballs, economy snowballs here, and 30 minerals is 30 minerals later to get a probe, which means your economy snowballs a little bit slower, and it's game-ending damage, actually. Mana forced to scout around as much as he did. By losing those 30 minerals, the game is over. We might as well go to game 2. That's exactly what I'm hearing here. Thank you, FireBird, for that fantastic analysis. Even though I said it, I'm going to blame you for it. There we go.
God, imagine if StarCraft 2 was that volatile, though. Or just having a probe out on the map for too long. And they would mine that few minerals. That would be crazy. I mean, that's kind of like StarCraft 1.
There is also the reason, right? There's a reason why players try not to SCV scout, try not to probe scout. There's a reason why Zerg players just stopped drone scouting. Overlords are a thing, but there's a period of time where Zerg players would drone scout every game. Then they kind of realized how their economy works, that it's really not worth it. But now this Oracle's going to fly into the main base. We don't really have a shield battery anywhere, so 3 probes will go down immediately, and the Oracle's not even going to take very much hull damage whatsoever. So Mana absolutely getting the type of damage that he's looking for here at the start of this game.
Yeah, we did see a little bit of different openings from either side. You had the immediate Twilight Council from Astrea going into that Blink, and then for Mana, again, just gets out that early Oracle, and then also heads into his own Twilight Council with Blink, but also is getting up a faster +1. So at the end of the day, even though Mana invests a little bit of money into getting out that Oracle, it doesn't even set him behind that much, because if you look at it, sure, he has like less minerals in the moment, and Astrea will probably have a faster third base if that's where we end up going. But at the same time, he's perfectly fine getting up, same number of gateways, getting his blink and his +1.
Yeah, really the only downside here, and I say downside with a rather significant air quotes, is the fact that Blink is probably 10-15 seconds slower there for Mana than it is for Astrea, but 15 seconds slower Blink at the end of the day is probably not going to be that big of a deal. And yeah, okay, third base, it's a little slower too, but again, right, he got some damage done. He does have that one worker lead. He is the one probe lead. Is going to be such a big difference here in this game over Astrea. Actually, as I say that, it's not even true. I lied.
Yeah, but as this game continues, I mean, looks like, as I said, both players just deciding, hey, you know what? We want to take this into a 3-base scenario where we build up some pretty massive armies and then throw them at each other for, around 6 minutes straight until one of us eventually wins. Which is usually how these PvPs kind of start to go unless one player wins an engagement just utterly. But you have both players with the 1-1, both players with the blink. Mana, I think, is starting to, again, catch up on that tech. His Robo facility was a bit later, again, busy with the Stargate, but he's getting that up. And, with Astrea going for an Observer, of course, by the time his finishes, they should be pretty much even on where they're going to be when it comes down to Immortal production. So really, this is a kind of almost perfect mirrors of each other, with the only difference being that additional Stargate.
Absolutely, man, and now getting on to +2 as well, really hitting those upgrade timings. Sometimes you do see players that get stuck on +1 for a little bit, not because they're lacking the tech to get +2. I mean, it's only Zerg that's really gated, that has an additional upgrade gated behind something, once, of course, you kind of get to start building upgrades for the first place. But actually, no, that's a lie. What am I saying? Twilight Council is the gate, and Armory is the gate for +2. Anyway, what am I saying? Doesn't really matter. Point being, we do have Mana getting into +2 rather quickly here. He's not going to go for some weird, big, all-in +1 timing. And behind this, we're just going to see Charizard, Blinkstalker, Disruptor play, I think, here from Mana. And Astrea, he's actually looking to get a little bit aggressive here.
Yeah, it does have the bigger army, so this engagement should actually work out for him. I mean, he just has more Stalkers here at the moment. Of course, there's already an Immortal out for Mana, which is going to do a whole lot of damage. And that Blink forward was very, very aggressive from our blue Protoss here, as he's going to blink back and ends up losing a few Stalkers, ends up losing, 2 probes. But overall, that blink forward does mean that he doesn't actually end up losing too much. And Stasis Trap actually catches out 2 sentries, which is always nice.
Of course, yeah, when you blink forward like that, it means you cannot blink back, which means you cannot blink micro, but look at this catch here from Mana. Now, unfortunately, he's going to find himself flanked a little bit as a couple more Stalkers have found their way across the map, and Mana not able to catch those sentries like he was going for. I think that was the really name of the game there, looking to blink on forward, take that positive trade before the sentries came off their stasis. But no, Astrea's not saying that's not going to happen here. Now Astrea opening up a rather significant supply lead. He's up 7 workers, he's up 14 army supply. And it's getting a little bit dicey here for the Team Liquid Protoss player.
Yeah, the Stalkers come in, going to see what they can pick off, have to back off as you see that there are 2 Immortals here in that blink forward. Going to mean that a few Stalkers go down, but good blinks back. Sentry does end up getting eliminated. So the army right now, while the army supply was in the favor of Astrea, you do have to consider the fact that there were those 2 Immortals, and those do just even up that supply difference because they are so efficient against the Stalkers themselves. And now both players heading into Disruptors, both players heading into Blink. And, well, as I said, this map, a lot of players seem to like the Blink Stalker Disruptor, and, well, here we are.
Absolutely. So Mana off-screen, well, I guess on-screen at the very end, but even off-screen for that, did get a little bit more damage done on the mineral line of Astrea, equalizing the worker count, kind of once again, but Astrea, he's got a 10-worker lead still. Does get 4 workers there with the Oracle, and then the Oracle did go down. So that does mean that there's one less threat there on the map here that Astrea has to deal with, which means he can commit even more to this pressure that he is putting on in. As he's actually, once again, going to be slightly delayed on getting his +3. Instead, he's going to get Warp Prism. No, that's Observer Speed. He's going to get Observer Speed rather quickly, making sure that he can be well aware of exactly what his opponent is doing, where and when, how and why. And yeah, the Disruptors will be able to force Astrea back at this point, but we're getting into the really cool part of PvP.
Yeah, as both players are going to start to get down their 5th bases, +3 getting up. Both players going Dark Shrine. This is, I mean, if you want to talk about how to play out a standard PvP into your Blink Stalker Disruptor, I mean, this is a master. This is 2 players who are completely comfortable going into this style, and it shows because their builds are essentially exactly the same. Even the slight stylistic differences that we see between them, you can still see that it's still behind it. The build, the build ordering and the macro, it's all pretty much exactly even.
Now, I do like this here from Astrea. One way to make it so it's not even is you just take bases faster. So Astrea does have his 5th base on the way here. No idea, no inkling of that from Mana just yet. He's gonna sit here and power up in 4 bases, maybe a little bit longer. And as I say that, well, 5th base is on the way, but unfortunately for Mana, the entire base of Astrea is there. And I believe that actually was a kill, not a cancel. So nice move there from Astrea, taking advantage, actually just furthering his economic lead. This point, worker lead has evened on up, but we do see that as a macro lead at the moment, 20 army supply lead. And now we're going to see Astrea sharking around, trying to get something done here. Now, the Disruptors here are on the high ground, but no, Astrea's going to get the positive trade there. His shots are going off first, and now there are 4. Oh, God!
Yeah, the Disruptor shots just went off a bit sooner for Astrea, and now he's going to catch out those Mana, but huge hits from Mana. He manages to trade out his Disruptors, but now his tech has been reset. He doesn't have any more, and you have 5 on the side of Astrea. These 2 Immortals, they can do a lot. I don't know if they can fight against this many Disruptors, as those shots are going to one-shot them now with that much hull damage onto them. All of the Immortals getting eliminated. The Disruptor is just doing so much work. Mana with the blink forward, realizing that he just needs to YOLO in, and this should be the GG. Astrea just takes the better engagement, and the game is blown wide open. And yeah, wow. I think we can talk about that a little bit more, but as we get on into it, ladies and gentlemen, the second game of this match 2, in the bottom right, it's your blue Protoss. His name is Mana.
And in the upper left, in the red, for Alphax, he is Astrea, the star.
Shining example of American Protoss.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think talking about that, the Clem versus June matchup that's going to be coming up, I do think that is a fair point, because of course we did see Clem got eliminated by Zest in IEM. Of course, that is Zest, who is he's got some crazy good Protoss versus Terran, even though it's sometimes can be, again, sometimes he can be a bit back and forth or up and down with how well he plays, but there is a time to talk about that. Again, the reason why we've gone to it is because, of course, if Astrea gets the 2-0 here, that puts Alpha X up 3-1. They're on match point. Joan only needs to get 1 map win. Of course, if Mana gets the win and we tie up 2-2, well then, if either player gets a 2-0, their team's going to win. But if it goes 1-1 again, we go to that ace match. And I think we've only ever seen 1 match go to the ace, and that was Team Liquid versus DPG, where Clem managed to beat out Dark to get that win for Team Liquid.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, Kites of Gaming against Shopify was also a 4-3, where Innovation beat Beyond. Yeah, that's been the only other. No, yeah, we had actually no ace matches in week 1, and we had 2, of course, in week 2. Maybe we get some more here in week 3. That's always fun. Ace match is the most exciting part of any team league, or any team league match, I should say.
Yeah, because you always have the players that are like, it's one game to decide if we win. Not usually do you see cheese, usually players will just say, all right, let's go into a straight up macro game. Let's get this underway. Let's try and get the win in a game that I'm comfortable with. As we do see Astrea here going for the proxy gate, so that's going to be 3-gate Stalker. And, if Mana here does start to posture towards getting an expansion down, this can do quite a bit of damage. But I do think he scouted out. He saw that there was no second pylon in the main base. And this is where you're talking about where maybe Astrea, if that proxy pylon hadn't been scouted before, could have faked out Mana, but Mana scouts it anyway, knows that it's that 3-gate, and he should be able to set up a defense against this.
Absolutely, and man, those Chinese Protoss voices are a little bit loud there, as we do hear the Stalker a little bit. But Astrea, he says, okay, well, you know what? You're going to expand at time for some 3-gate pressure. So we do, of course, have the proxy gateway, and I don't believe that Astrea, that Mana has scouted this, as Astrea gets to scout around the edge of the map, trying to make sure he's not getting proxied too. But with this 3-gate pressure, well, Absolutely, that is something that can get some damage on done here. We're going to have to see just how much, as of course the 3 Stalkers are getting on out. And there we go, we will have Warp Gate on the way behind this. But because of the timing here, because Mana, maybe he's a little bit suspicious, maybe because he saw something in the main base, he does have his shield battery down rather quickly. We do have 3 sentries that will exist on the map right now, so that will make it rather difficult for Astrea to really push his way on in there. 3 sentries, that's a lot of force fields, that's a lot of Guardian Shield, and with the shield battery and the shield battery overcharge as well, Mana, he's going to be in a solid defensive position, at least for the time being.
Yeah, Astrea, I think he does realize that, of course, this is going to be a bit hard to push into, so he's going into the Adepts to try and get some harass in the main, then also putting up a natural base of his own. So he's not going to try and commit all out to killing Mana here. This is just going to be him trying to see which damage he can. He does have 3 Adepts, so he can just one-shot those sentries, but there comes the shield battery overcharge. The one-shots come through onto the sentries, and Astrea is going to have to back out because there is now a whole lot of Stalkers here for Mana. And, you know, a good hold so far from our blue Protoss.
Yeah, I was going to say, oh man, I feel like that's probably worth it, but I think the answer is incorrect there. As, yeah, Mana, he was able to hold that with flying colors. Losing 3 sentries, sure, that's a problem. Right, that is a lot of gas that you've committed to make that happen. But on the flip side, you know, he is up in army supply now. He is roughly even in economy. But more importantly, his tech is a whole lot stronger than the tech of Astrea at this point. Astrea going, look at that force field. We will see. I have to see a recall off of this. And even one Adept will go down. We do see Mana going for force fields, or excuse me, not going for force fields, going for Immortals here. Really getting that powerful tier 1.5 tech that really is going to allow him to anchor the defense. And yeah, eventually Astrea is going to have +1 blink, but that's going to be a bit away. And now Mana, he might even choose to get a bit aggressive here, so he's going to be able to knock that pylon down from the map, knock that gateway down from the map. And when it's 2 gates and 2 gate, and one player has eventually blink, but no blink right now, and one player has a bunch of Immortals, well, I'll tell you exactly how that one works out.
You do have a Warp Prism on the way for Mana, and ooh, a nice catch here by Astrea. Says, you're trying to shut down my 3-gate. No, I'm going to get 3 free Stalker kills. Doesn't lose anything with that beautiful force field and body blocks. So Astrea there, making the most of what he has, as Mana is going to push across with his Warp Prism. Already has Immortals on the way, and those Immortals, they don't really care if you have blink Stalkers. You can blink your heart out, but if the army supplies are equal, they will just eventually win out on that trade. So we'll have to see how Mana decides to try and navigate this game. If he just goes straight into that 3rd Nexus to kind of push this advantage even further, or if maybe he tries to do a timing attack here.
Now you say that, but I'm kind of surprised we don't see Mana moving out on the map right now, just considering the fact that he did go on into 4-gate behind this, 4-gate on 2 bases with that robo. So that kind of is this hallmark of, yeah, if it's a 4-gate, it's going to be aggressive. Now Mana will try to dive on into that main base and will be unsuccessful. Astrea is in position, as the Hexagon showed us. Astrea, fantastic at the defensive thing. But now we have Mana moving out across the map here. Double Immortal, a bunch of Stalkers, some Sentries. And Mana behind this will take a 3rd base. So this is not all in, it's just pressure. But we're going to have to see how powerful this pressure is, as Blink is going to be done by the time this pressure really kicks up in earnest. +1 will not be, though. +1 is still about 30-40 seconds out. And we're just going to have to see how well Astrea is going to be able to hold this here. As now the Adepts are going to try to dive on. No, they won't. Never mind. Adepts thinking about trying to dive on top of things.
I'm a bit cautious about pushing forward because, of course, you do have that Hallucinating Phoenix just scouting it all out. But he's forced out 5 cannons. So that's absolutely worth it. Just getting out this much static defense out of Astrea. And I think Astrea thinks this is an all-in. I don't know if Astrea realizes that Mana just has a 3rd base going up behind this, and he's getting up a forge.
I mean, you gotta. It's not all in, but it certainly has to get something done, right? Where this is a 4-gate for Mana. Mana has built 4 gates. He has been. This is a late 3rd base. So with all of that being said, Mana does have to get something done. And now, unfortunately, here he's not going to get anything done here. Maybe getting all that static defense is going to be worthwhile. It looks like Astrea did cancel a lot of that add-on static defense after all those cannons did finish. And now it's Astrea starting to get aggressive with a lot. That is, what, 6, 7 sentries there with full energy. He has +1. He has well, it doesn't have a bigger army just yet, but it does have a Warp Prism. So we'll be able to maybe get something done here. The Stalkers will blink forward, knock down a couple probes, and we're going to see maybe some really good force fields. But, with the Warp Prism here, that's not going to be all that successful. And now, Astrea, he's going to try to blink for his heart's content, do what he can to try to make take the positive trades here. He does have +1, of course, so that's going to be the big boon for him. But again, does he have a warp? No, he just has the pylon. Never mind. He has that proxy gateway that he's going to be able to warp in from, but no warp prism, not yet.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I don't really feel like Mana did need to get damage done there, because I mean, sure, it's a 4-gate, but he had his third base up before Astrea. He knew that his opponent was super delayed on getting up that piece of tech, and also he has, of course, he has himself the Immortals as a nice little use of the hallucination. Just decides to grab a Colossus and blink on up. Does pick off a pylon, which depowers, one of the gateways, but has to then blink on out. And Astrea just trying to posture lose 4 probes in the back, I believe, 2 adepts that were still around from that initial warp, and actually 5 probes going down. So not exactly sure what's going on there on the other side of the map, as we aren't getting a look at it. But Astrea, he's still posturing. He's still trying to get damage done here. But I'm just not sure if he can, because again, there's 2 Immortals here, and those Immortals will trade better unless there's no Warp Prism Micro. And Mana, losing one of his Immortals, has 2 more, though, coming through from his production cycle. And these force fields are great, but again, Warp Prism means that Mana can just juggle things out, just doesn't. Says, you know what, I have enough, I can just force this through. And Astrea here, eventually this trade just does not work out for him.
No, but oh, the Stalkers. Yeah, they are paying attention. Good job there, Mana. We'll be able to dodge that one. That was looking damn juicy, but okay, never mind. Astrea. I'm like, oh man, Astrea's going for a disruptor flank, but that's not exactly the case here. Once again, excuse me, Mana will be able to knock down the pylon. We'll be able to knock down the gateway, cut down on the production of Astrea once again. Well, Astrea says, no, not if I have anything to say about that. But yeah, no, that's not going to work out. The gateway will get depowered. The gateway will most likely just get killed this time. And now Astrea, he does have the flanking disruptors.
Oh my god. Oh. That's so cheeky, as one disruptor does get caught out that was still rallying. A nice shot does kill 2 Stalkers in the back side as the recall comes through to get those disruptors on out of there. So he doesn't get a ton of damage, but hey, he gets rid of some reinforcements as Mana's now going to poke up here with his Stalker, see what he can do. Late blink gets one of the disruptors though, and just a nice little pick off that he gets for free. And he still has 3 Immortals here, so for Mana, this army still does just pack a punch. Again, it's all armored units here for Astrea, who's having to build so much static defense. And I mean, it's not all up though, so yeah, Mana should just be able to push in and take this all down. The Immortals can zone out the Stalkers, and I'm not sure how Astrea is meant to push this back. Mana's being careful with the engagement, has slow Zealots here to tank, but it's just saying, hey, he doesn't think that he has enough necessarily to push in. And I feel like I'm underestimating a bit the power of the 3 Immortals.
Yeah, I mean, remember, we do have a 1 upgrade lead here from Astrea over Mana, so the Stalkers notionally, in a totally even fight, they do trade a little bit better. But yeah, with the Immortals here, that is the great equalizing factor. Of course, Astrea has his own equalizing factor in that he does have disruptors. But Mana, he does have his 4th base on the way now, actually 4th base done, excuse me, taking advantage of this pressure that he's been able to achieve to just keep Max Angel back, to keep him from really getting on into what he wants to get done. And that does mean, of course, that it's 3 bases versus 4 disruptor shots. Going to try to go on out here, not going to make a connection. And now we're going to see a little bit of a flanking position, but no, Mana not really opting to do that. And there we go, Blink DT's on the way here. A 2nd Robo, so we're going to see a lot more disruptors on the way. And Astrea, while he is down, he's only down 5 armies to play. It was 15 earlier on. He's actually doing a really good job of holding this off.
Yeah, his posturing has been very, very good with his Stalkers, meaning that Mana never has found an angle to really push in. This should be a pick-off onto the Warp Prism, does so, and the Zealots manage to dodge away from those disruptor shots. You still have this massive supply lead, though, for Mana. 20 supplies. He just, the flanking with the Stalkers on top of the disruptors. Gets 2 of them already, gonna pick off a 3rd, goes for the 4th and manages to get it. A huge move. 5th disruptor going down, and now you have 3 Immortals. And sure, you got Blink Stalkers, but again, these 3 Immortals, they do so much damage. Add on a 4th here, as Mana with a massive flank there gets all of the tech for Astrea.
I was going to say, I'm not exactly sure that is worthwhile, because again, the Stalkers against Stalkers do fight better, and Astrea was able to take a really good trade against the Stalkers because he was able to fight only part of the army, not the entire thing. But at the end of the day, getting those additional rallying and disruptors did suddenly make that worthwhile here. And now it's 4 Immortals, it's a bunch of Blink Stalkers. There is an upgrade lead, but Astrea's going to lose that upgrade rather eventually, because I mean, there's not a lot more you can go on into. Sure, you can get, like, say, armor, or you can get shields or something. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's not nearly as impactful as the attack upgrades. That's why you don't necessarily get them. But Astrea doing a really good job of being active with his Stalkers on the map at this point, be able to knock some additional Stalkers down. But now we got flanking Stalkers coming on in. This is where things get a little bit dicey here. Oh no, the blink coming on in. But again, right, +3 is a powerful thing. Astrea not taking the fight quite as poorly as he otherwise would. But this is just too much here. Too many Stalkers, too many Immortals. But man, you know what? With the disruptors on in here, okay, never mind. They're just gonna find 2 disruptors on the right-hand side, and suddenly it's a 40 supply lead.
Oh, a third one as well. You can see Astrea in the camera shaking his head as he realizes, just again, getting these disruptors caught out. If he hadn't lost all of them, I mean, he would have like 9 at this point. More getting caught out, more getting focused down, and with that, there was just more army here for Mana. He has 5 Immortals just powering through. And yeah, I mean, just catching out those disruptors. It's such a hard unit to control because you have to be constantly babysitting them. And you see Astrea just loses a few of them occasionally, loses sight, end up going down. And now this third base should be forfeit. There's just so much army supply here for Mana. I mean, oh, that's a juicy disruptor hit. It actually picks off 1 Immortal and gets, or 2 Immortals against 2 others super low. But in the end, too much here for Mana. The trade goes his way, and as soon as this third base goes down, I'm not sure what Astrea can do to really keep going in this game, especially with a 4th, available for Mana and a 5th on the way. GG is called. 1-1 is going to be the scoreline as Mana gets the victory.